Welcome back to She Made Studios. Today we are delving deep into storytelling and creative technology with Jorge Castillo. Jorge Castillo is an immersive media artist and a researcher specializing in virtual and augmented reality. His work bridges storytelling, design, and cutting the edge of technology with the focus on how immersive experiences can build empathy and transform creative industries. I'm very excited to introduce to you Jorge Castillo. You're welcome to the studio today, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here and happy to talk about these themes that are my passion. I love to teach this kind of stuff and tell stories using these techniques.
Right. How have you been? How did this journey start for you?
Well, I'm originally from Ecuador. I grew up in a family that was deeply in love of mountains. My grandfather, my grandmother, my father, my mom, they used to climb a lot of mountains. Actually, my father, he's 70 now and he's still climbing mountains.
That's interesting.
So I had this really deep connection with nature, what led me to study biology on the beginning. And while I was doing that, at the same time, my father was working as a wedding photographer.
Wow.
So I had access to cameras since I was a child, since 7 years. And that was the beginning of everything, I would like to say. I started taking pictures of everything, everywhere I went.
Right.
And that was started the curiosity on what else I can do with cameras. So when I started studying biology, I was taking my camera. And at the time, it was a video camera that I got when I was probably 12, 13. To everywhere I went, I was making videos, taking pictures of everything to share with other people what they could not see.
Right. So you speak about biology. So as a child, when you started using the camera, were you focusing on like plants, insects, animals, or human beings?
When I started using the camera, it was to photograph everything. The landscape where I went, the flora, the plants that were there, the animals that were there. When I studied biology, and until now, I still have a deep passion for frogs, lizards, and snakes. And fun fact, I was afraid of snakes, terrified of snakes. You would put a stake in front of my face and I will cry. And it was because of photography and getting to learn how to photograph these animals that I lost my fear for them, and I started appreciate snakes more and getting to know more. And I found out that was the same case for a lot of people. So when I was a biologist, I was photographing everything because my parents were not able to come with me on my trips. My cousins were interested in other stuff, and I was like, hey, look this cool creek that I get to explore, and look this cool frog, and look this cool insects, and share with them. So that was the beginning of the passion for media. For me, I would
so
say.
aside being scared of these animals, what other thing was your challenge as a child knowing how to use the camera? Which camera were you even using?
So I start photographing on a film camera, a Canon EA9, I think it's the model. It's an old film camera, a wonderful camera. But at the same time, I was not only learning how to take pictures, I was learning also how to develop the pictures that I was processing in the dark room. So it was the whole process. So it was really fantastic. And growing up in Ecuador, something that was really challenging was getting access to gear and technology and that kind of things due to pricing. My country has a lot of tariffs on imported goods, especially in technology. So getting a new camera, getting a new anything was expensive. And we didn't have the resources for that. So I started working hard, doing a lot of things with my family, for my aunts, for my father, so I can earn a little bit more that I can put towards a camera, towards a camera at the beginning, later on a computer, and I start working on those things.
I see the build up, and I see where, like, how your focus now, like how it started and everything, it's now making sense to me. You have a great story. I'm wondering, I've seen your project. How did it, like, I know it's from biology, but why did you decide to go into that direction? Why augmented reality and all of those?
So I did my first master's in photojournalism here in the School of Visual Communication. And that was in 2016. At that time, 360 cinema, 360 video was starting to come up. On 2017, the New York Times came up with this series of Daily 360. Throughout a year, the journalists at the New York Times were producing 360 videos of situations around the globe. And that started picking up my attention. At the same time, just before coming here to the US on 16, my team back in Ecuador get a chance to work with Conservation International, making a film with a Hollywood budget about the tropical forest, the rainforest back in Ecuador. And they were filming a 360 film with Hollywood budget. It was an amazing thing. Because I had to come here for grad school, I didn't get a chance to work with them. But I was seeing the work that they were doing, the cameras that they were using, the techniques that they were using, and that got me interested. So when I got here and I first hear about the Grid Lab and the immersive media, I was like, okay, let's give a try. Let's see what it happens.
Why
so
not?
I started working with them. I did my first thesis, my photojournalism thesis was using 360 cameras and was making a short documentary on how the resilience of the people of Ecuador was after an earthquake that struck my country in 2016. And that was the beginning of everything. Well, I was doing that production. I was helping him here with other projects. And I started thinking, okay, I love the cameras because that allowed me to create a sphere of the world where we are living, but we cannot interact with them. So I start playing with game engines that allowed me to create immersive spaces where I can interact with the areas, VR, and I start finding tools to use those technologies. And one of those tools was photogrammetry that you mentioned before. I started learning about that. I started learning about other themes around the US that were using photogrammetry to scan frogs. That's the group that I'm more passionate, that at the time I was passionate about. I was like, okay, this is fascinating. They are using this technology to create models of frogs, of live frogs. So what you will see right now, I'm using a couple of camera rigs, but pretty much I have a camera and I have to move my object on a turntable to get images of every single perspective.
Wow.
But these people were using 16, 20 cameras at the same time to photograph the animal at the same time. It was fascinating, but it was a pretty high budget. I was going back to Ecuador at the time and I was like, okay, how I can do the same back at home with low budget, because I was not being paid for doing that. I was doing that as a side job on my free time. So I was like, how can I start doing that? Then pandemic hit and it was like, okay, now it's time to go back to grad school and maybe find a way to take this passion of how to use technology to connect people to another level. And that's where I started working with photogrammetry and immersive media to create virtual spaces that resemble nature spaces. So people that don't get access to those spaces are able to be transported there and feel what is being in the tropical forest or being housed in the wild forest here in Appalachia. And for people here, it's a destination that's 15 minutes, the forest in here. But traveling back to Ecuador, maybe once in their life or never. One reason why I love this technology is because we consider this technology as an empathy machine, because allowed people to be on the step on the foot of the other people and feel what they are feeling.
Okay. So when we talk about immersive technology, what are we talking about? We are talking about having people have the feel of places they've never been to, something like that.
Well, immersive technology, I mean, if we go by the theory, immersive is anything that makes you feel that you are within a story, place, or that makes you feel that you are in another space, right? Immersiveness has a lot of factors. It depends on how many senses are involved: visual, auditory, tactile, smell. So it's a state of being transported.
Right.
And you can do that with film. If you go to the movies, because you are in a dark room staring at a big screen with a audio that comes all around, you feel that you are not on the movie, a movie theater. You feel that you are in the place where the movie takes you. But how we can increase that sensation, how we can increase that level of immersion.
Right.
And that's where immersive technology, virtual reality, 360 video, augmented reality plays give us a really interesting opportunity to go and start exploring with this technology and how we can increase the sensations for people.
So I'm sure some people do not know what augmented reality is, virtual reality, and 360 video. Do you mind taking us through the differences, like in a very simple way?
Sure. So, for example, let's start with a 360 image.
Right.
I think most of people have used Google Maps or Google Earth and being able to use the function of a street view that allows you to see on a picture all around you.
Yeah.
So that's a 360 picture.
Right.
It's an image of a place that you can scroll all around. You add to that image, you add movement, and you have a 360 video.
Right.
So it gives you the perspective of the sensation of being in a place, and you can move around and sit around. Virtual reality, it's a computer-generated world that either by using a headset, a head-mounted display, or a VR headset, or by looking at the screen, you are transported to that world. Augmented reality, it's somewhere in between, right? It's not the real world. It's not completely computer-generated. It's a overlap of the computer-generated world with elements of the real world and the interaction between them.
Wow. So did your thesis projects cover all these three fields, all these three technology?
Okay, so throughout my 3 years of study, I've covered the three of them. My thesis per se works on augmented reality and how to use augmented reality with museum experiences to enhance the experience of the guests in the Space Museum. That doesn't take that I've been working with virtual reality to develop experiences where people go out on the forest and take pictures of insects, or using 360 videos and 360 pictures to create this is how the forest look like 5 minutes from your house. Go outside and explore. So I've been using all those technologies throughout my 3 years of studies to tell different stories.
Right. So which softwares did you use to build this fantastic project you worked on?
So for my thesis, pretty much the ones that I used the most was Blender, that allowed me to polish and prepare my specimen to 3D print. Then for creating the actual so let me walk you through my workflow.
Perfect.
I got a specimen from the museum, and with that specimen, with this insect, let's say, I will put it on a machine that I got to build a couple of years ago. This machine runs a open source program that takes hundreds of images of all sides of the insect, and then using its own algorithm, it gives me thousands of images that I then put in a photogrammetry software. I've been using a couple of them. Agisoft Metashape, it's one that I get a chance to buy thanks to a grant of the university. There are open source ones like Reality Capture from Unreal Engine. That's really good. It has some issues working with some specific details, but I managed how to. Adobe has its own software that it's Adobe Sampler. And there is also open source softwares like Mushroom that's available online and for free. And there's also softwares on your phone that you can use to create 3D models. So after using those softwares, I move into Blender to polish and to finish any minor detail that I may have.
Yeah.
And finally, I go to the software of the 3D printer. It's called a slicer, that in this case is Bamboo Studio. The printer that I use, a Bamboo Lab, so allowed me to make the final details and send to print.
Wow.
Then I use Unity as a game engine to create the interactive game and the augmented reality experience that goes with the sculpture.
Wow. So the sculpture, did you build it yourself?
Yes. So
how long did it take you?
It's a whole process. I would say that it took me a year, because it's not only the development of making the model. I had to choose which insect I was going to 3D print.
Which insect?
So I choose a common Easter bumblebee.
Why that?
That's the interesting part. So I did a whole research with environmental educators of the region, K through 12 educators of the region, park rangers, naturalists, biologists, and scientists, to figure it out what are the needs of the community here in terms of education,
right,
and how I can use immersive technology to fulfill that gap. So one thing that we find out, and everyone that I talked to agree, was pollination. A lot of people barely know about pollination, and what they know is that the honeybee is the most important bee in the world. Yes, and we have local pollinators that are the keystone of our food chain here in America.
Right.
Bumblebees get to pollinate tomatoes, peppers, and a lot of veggies that we have in our diet. So based on that conversation, and that analysis that I did with those interviews, we chose to do the pollinator, the common Easter bumblebee, and to make an interactive sculpture, and the themes that I include, that was, what is pollination, what is pollen, what is the difference with a honeybee, what is the difference with wasp, that a lot of people are also aware of and afraid of, and that kind of things. What are the kind of meals that the pollinators get to help to produce.
Interesting.
So all that information, based on all that research, I developed the game. I developed the sculpture and the content that goes with the sculpture. Focus towards grades 3 to 6. That's my target.
Wow. How does the game work? Is it like with pictures? How?
Yeah. So what you have is, it's a very simple game. It's a questions and answers game,
right,
and what you use to answer the questions is a set of images.
Okay.
So I give you a set of 10 images that has pictures of a lot of things, of bumblebees, of wasps, of pollen, of nest site, of fruits, and different things.
Wow.
So from those 10 images, you get prompt 5 questions.
Right.
And you have to put in front of the iPad the image that answers the questions that you are being prompted. And once you do that, if you do that correctly, you get a reward, a visual reward of either an animation that interacts with the sculpture, a sound, or something that keeps you engaged. So I have different animations. I have other animals that are pollinators are the monarch butterflies here. So I have a bunch of monarch butterflies flying across the screen.
Wow.
When you get asked about bumblebees and you answer the right questions, you have a lot of bumblebees flying across the screen. When you're talking about pollen, you have a rain of pollen falling. And finally, when you answer the last question, instead of having confetti celebrating your right answer, you have pollen that comes at you on the screen. It's really, kids loved it. So it's like, okay, not only kids, everyone loves it. So I think I achieved my goal of engaging people in the game. And after they received that that engagement, that reward, they get prompt to, do you want to learn? Do you want to discover? And the phrasing is here really important. Do you want to discover more about our local pollinators? Visit our state parks around Athens, or follow this website that tells you where you can find pollinator gardens around Athens. And I said, discover, because people are afraid of the word learn due to our learning system, that you have to learn, and to learn means that you have to go to school, and that you have to go to school, that means that you have to have a structure education system.
Right.
And part of the design of my sculpture was to break that line and develop an experience that encouraged people to do experiential learning.
Wow, that's really great. I see your project is very informative, educative. It has how an entertainment aspect of it. It's like you are playing game, but you're actually learning new things. Did AI help you in setting up this in a certain way? Did you use some AI tools?
No, yeah, for sure. Since English is not my first language, I developed a lot of the language that I was used, and I use AI as my second pair of eyes to go over the text to figure it out if I had to figure out if I have mistakes or something like that. That was, and I also had a group of educators and colleagues that were looking over that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then also when I had issues or blockages coding, I usually code late in the afternoon, the evening, so I don't have friends around me. So it's like, okay, I need to bounce ideas of what is wrong. So it was a good idea. It was a good way it was a good support, on the sense that I was able to put, okay, I'm having this issue, and I did this.
Right.
It's like, okay, check this and this.
Yeah.
I check this and this, and it's not working, and I have this other issue here. So allowed me to go through what usually will take me hours on documentation, on forums, on manuals. Allowed me to narrow the search in a little bit more tailor-made to my needs.
Right.
And that was great. But it's important to say here that while I use AI, it was an assistant per se, and AI didn't do the job for me.
You did it.
I've been in school for 3 years learning how to do games. So if I didn't know how to do a game, I will not be able to ask the AI the right questions.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
that was really, really important.
Yeah. So in your perspective, how do you think augmented reality, virtual reality, and 360 is transforming the creative industry?
Okay, so we have a lot of now going to the movie theaters and going to the experience. We have plenty of QR codes that prompt you a 3D model of of an object, and then you will take a picture, you and one of the characters of the movie, and that kind of things have been out for years. We have games, Pokemon Go and Harry Potter World with augmented reality have been out for years. Google Maps, Google Street View, and all these map engines have been around for a long time and have a lot of information about our world.
Right.
That allowed us to build digital twins of our cities, of our world.
Yeah.
That the common user use it every single day to their transportation, to find a place, to find an address, those kind of things. On the enterprise world, by having digital twins of the world, we can train models to make certain tasks more efficient. We can have surgeons train in operating room without being in the operating room, using virtual twins of their world.
That's fantastic.
And things that usually will not be, and do things that usually will not be able to do. Like in a surgery, you cannot try multiple times because a patient will die. But in a virtual experience, you can try different ways to do it until you find the right way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the experiential learning that we are looking for on the educational system that is trying to break the do as I say.
Yeah.
So
Even with fashion, in terms of photography, you realize that there are some platforms where when you're buying clothes, these days you could actually try them on,
yeah.
you know,
Yep,
on the you've
yes,
seen that.
yeah, I've seen that. I've seen also makeup lines that in their catalog have a QR code that you put in front of the camera, and then it's like, try this shade on your lips, on your
Yeah.
eyes, and it's like, okay. And when you look back at the engines that make that possible, I would say that it's not difficult, but it's not that challenging.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, okay, if they can do it, I mean. Meta had a really great engine, Spark Studio, up until April this year. No, early this year.
Right.
That it was really easy to create augmented reality experiences and have them up in Facebook or Instagram right away.
Wow.
So it's technology that's up there. There's a lot of creators in social media using these platforms to create filters.
Right.
I mean, that's the easiest and more simple way of augmented reality that there are filters. Filters is it's pretty much augmented reality.
It's really interesting how the world is going and how these technologies are making things simple. Do you see any negative sides?
With everything, we need to take this with slowly and analyze what we're doing.
Right.
Something that I really teach in my classes is to be intentional about the work that you do, and think on other repercussions that this could have. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why we need to create addictive games that will make you spend thousands of dollars on the game.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to make a game that it's fun. But you don't. I mean, why you need to make people lose their houses because those kind of things. So I'm very intentional with the decisions on design or implementation of a technology, and I always encourage my students to, okay, why you are doing this? Give me a proper idea or defense of why you are using this technology for this or this or this instead of other ways of doing it. Because I want to be sure that everyone gets to do something that's intentional and that make them think about the possible repercussions that could have in the world.
Right. That's really great. So talk of students. It's like right now you're a mentor to a lot of people, close and far, and your journey is very inspiring.
Thank you.
I'm sure people want to know more. However, to talk of biology, technology, sometimes people get scared because you realize that like you have to learn a lot of things. Is there any simple approach to take this if you're a beginner who wants to go into this field?
So in my case, I use all these technologies to tell the story that passions me, and in my case, is nature. If your passion is fashion, okay, you don't have to go deep and go into game engines to figure it out how to make augmented reality experiences. You have tools that are really easy to use and implement to make filters to be able to put content in an immersive way, either in VR or AR online, and start trying and seeing if that's what you like, and then get slowly but surely dipping your toes into the water of technology, and don't be afraid of ask. Especially here, we live in a campus where everyone knows something. So it's really easy for me to go upstairs and ask my colleague, hey, I have this issue in Blender. Or go to my other friends like, hey, I have this issue color correcting. Or go to my other friends like, hey, can you help me to do this coding? So don't be afraid of ask. And I mean, for every no that you get 1,000 yes. So it's don't be afraid of ask, don't be afraid of trying new things, and
that's true. You shouldn't be afraid to ask for help. George has been helpful to me. In particular, there were times I think with a video I was editing, I got stuck. I didn't know what to do. I went to him. I was like, hey George, this is what I'm doing. I'm unable to do it, and he was so happy to help. So until you ask, nobody knows what you're going through. So I know you are teaching 360 video. What exactly are you teaching?
So I start next fall teaching a class that focus both in fundamentals of photogrammetry.
Great.
So how to use or devices or phones to create 3D models. And then that's half of the course. The other half of the course is how to start creating 360 videos.
Wow.
The goal here is that later on the spring, we want to have a bigger class for 360 and a bigger class for photogrammetry where we can actually start doing more intentional things. I don't know. Let's create so that's the idea. So during the first half of the class, we will be using our devices to use apps that are for the device to see how they create models and compare them among themselves, and also how to use the camera built in our phones to take pictures to later on use our computers to create models.
That's interesting.
And it's fun because it's not complicated. It will not take us a lot of time to create models, and that's why I got into this, right? I don't want to disrespect my colleagues that know 3D modeling. 3D modeling can take you hours, days, months on create a product. With photogrammetry, usually, because of my time frames of work, I have to have an asset ready to go in a blink of an eye. And using photogrammetry, I've been able to reduce the time from 3 weeks of creating an asset to have it in a week.
Right.
So it's powerful. And at the beginning when I was doing this, I was leaving my computer running for hours doing the processing. Now it's in a matter of minutes on our phones.
Wow.
So it's fascinating, and I just invite people to explore this kind of things.
I like that you don't have to use like a real camera. Just your phone should be fine. Is there any particular phone or any type of phone should be fine?
Well,
are you looking at any kind of camera quality?
Not necessarily, because what I'm asking, I always like to say that the best technology that you have to tell a story is the one that you have with you. That plus the knowledge that you have on how to tell stories, right? So it doesn't matter the camera that you have, the phone that you have. If your phone cannot support the software that we're going to use, you can take pictures on your phone that then we can put on the computer and run the software, or things like that. So there's always a way, and that's something that I built a lot. It's developing solutions through problems that may show up, and that's production life. Every time will face a challenge, and you have to.
Right. So this is for photographers, for videographers, for
anyone can join the class. There's a lot of designers that use 3D models for their posters. It's like, okay, I need a 3D model of this to put on my poster. How I do that? It's like, okay, now we can go really easy to the game, with your phone, make the 3D model of this and put it on your poster, on your animation, or whatever you are doing. I'm opening this class to people in the film school. There's a lot of people in the film school that want to use this model to create prompts for their films. I'm opening this to the people in the School of Art, in the College of Fine Arts.
Fine Arts.
So finding different ways to use the technology, and it's not something new.
Right.
But we are in a privileged time where the technology has become accessible.
Yeah, it's not something new, yes, but depending on the field you are in, when you add it to it, it adds value to it. It makes you stand out. So I'm sure people would want to know what photogrammetry is.
The technical definition is creating a 3D model using images.
Okay.
So I've been working with that for, I want to say, 6 years now.
Right.
3 of them as a hobby, and the last 3 years really putting the work on. And it's been fascinating to see the results.
Right. Is there any additional information you would want to share with us?
Just follow your passion. If you like to tell stories, explore different ways to tell those stories. In my case, because I love technology and I love nature, the stories that I share with people are based on nature and using different ways to tell the story to engage different audiences. So find what passions you and find the right medium to, not even the right medium, try different mediums and see which one do you like the best, and see which one engage this audience and that audience and that audience, and what do you like to do the most. So keep exploring.
Keep exploring. So like, if you're scared, how do you, I'm sure there are people very much interested in your course. I'm very much interested in it, but I'm a bit scared. What do you have for me? What kind of mindset should I have before I come into class?
It's a fun class. We want to create things that will helpful for you. So for the photogrammetry part, what assets do I need for my projects? Let's say I'm going to be doing a big course on fashion.
Right.
I want to have a lot of dresses scanned that I can later put on an animation.
Yeah.
Things like that. Let's say that you are a photojournalist. You can scan and create 3D models of ancient objects that you may have access to. Just be curious and figure it out. And let's figure it out together how this technology can benefit your career.
Right. Awesome. George, this has been very incredible. I've learned so much from you. I'm sure every other person has also learned as well. Do you have any social media platforms, or where if you have a website, people can see your work and engage with it, appreciate it more? Even explaining it makes me, you try to envision how it's like, but I'm sure when people get to see your website or something.
For sure. I'm happy to share. My website is Castillo, CASTILLO.photography.
Right.
There you will find my gallery of normal video, immersive video, 3D models, and photography, and also some of the partners that I've been working with for the last 15 years, 18 years now. Also, follow my Instagram. But this time I don't have a lot of content up there since I'm finishing grad school. But soon after I'm done with grad school, you can follow me. It's JA Castillo C. And then on my LinkedIn, it's Jorge Castillo Castro. So and I'm pretty sure that you can put the links out here.
It'll be there. Thank you so much. I'm so excited bringing him here, and I'm sure we have all learned something. If you need more information or want to engage in his work, you can definitely follow him on the social media handles. Feel free to check his website. And thank you so much for joining us today in CMIT Studios. Again, my name is Nina. You can call me Paloma Asante. My social media handles are Paloma Asante. See you in the next video. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button, like, comment, share to your friends who are very much interested in these kind of conversations. It's for all of us. Let's think creative and stay positive and be creative. Do you? See you.
Yeah, thank you.